A drone drifts across the unseen border, triggering warplanes aloft. Thousands of troops gather near NATO's frontier. Military exercises that once were routine now carry a sharper edge. Russia isn't just fighting in Ukraine anymore, it's testing the very boundaries of the alliance. Is NATO ready for what's coming next? This is Russia's gamble, probing NATO's resolve while blurring the lines of war. But before we continue, please like and subscribe to our channel. It helps us to grow and offer you better and quality videos. Thank you. In recent days, tensions in Eastern Europe have spiked. A Russian drone, identified as a Garand-2 kamikaze munition, wandered into Romanian airspace, lingering nearly 50 minutes. Romanian F-16s were scrambled. No shots fired. Commanders decided not to risk civilian lives. Meanwhile, Poland has reported dozens of drone incursions crossing from Belarus and Kaliningrad. Several of these have been shot down. Warsaw has viewed these not as accidents, but deliberate probes. These aren't isolated incidents. They are part of a pattern: low-intensity moves, calculated risk, testing NATO's readiness. Each breach is a message, each war game a rehearsal. A drone here, fighter jets there. But what's the real danger when these moves become routine? Parallel to these incursions, Russia and Belarus have launched Zapad 2025 joint military exercises officially to test defensive readiness of their union state. Some key facts: traditionally to be held on or near Belarus's western border, but this year much of Zapad 2025 has been positioned deeper inside Belarus. Roughly 13,000 personnel officially participating, far fewer than some past Zapad exercises, which saw figures of 100,000 to 200,000. However, analysts caution that actual deployments and related drills may be more extensive. Exercises include modern assets: Su-34 fighter bombers, attack helicopters, tanks, drones, reconnaissance FPV bomber, ground robots for casualty extraction drills, and rehearsal of tactical nuclear weapons among elements. Notably, observers from the U.S. were present. This is the first time since 2022 that U.S. officers have attended such drills in Belarus. War games that include nuclear rehearsals, observers from both sides, truth or show, and what does it mean when the show hits close to home? Why is Russia doing all this now? The drones, the drills, the show of force. The payoff may be bigger than it looks. Leverage through ambiguity. By using drones that skirt airspace or hover just inside NATO territory but don't cause damage, Moscow can create pressure without triggering full retaliation. It's a way of saying, we have reach. We can get close. Are you prepared to respond? Some incursions draw no response, others escalate, demonstrating force and alliance cohesion. Zapad drills show that Belarus remains deeply aligned to Moscow in military affairs. They also display new capabilities, both conventional and nuclear, including hypersonic missile testing and asymmetric warfare tools. Internal political signaling: to domestic audiences, Russia shows strength. To its neighbors, a warning. It's also a message to NATO: how serious things are if the alliance does not adjust and respond. The gestures of escalating tension serve multiple audiences. When the adversary stretches its border, it asks if you will flinch and prepares to punish you if you do. For NATO, each breach, each drone, each drill raises a thorny question: how to respond without triggering open war. Rules of engagement issues. Romania intercepted the drone but didn't shoot due to risk to civilians. That restraint avoids escalation, but also may embolden future incursions. Political divisions. Not all NATO members want to escalate. Some fear pushing Russia could lead to more direct conflict. Others fear being seen as weak if they don't respond. This tension weakens a unified response. Military constraints. Deployment of jets, readiness of air defenses, ability to track drones reliably, and intelligence sharing are all complicated and expensive. Meanwhile, Russia pushes hard with hybrid warfare, drones, cyber attacks, misinformation, which are harder to counter with conventional tools. Escalate or hold the line. NATO walks a tightrope. One misstep might spark the war everyone fears. America may be far from the border, but this is not America's backyard. U.S. strategy, policy, and vulnerability are all in play. Observers from the U.S. attended Zapad 2025, a symbolic thaw of sorts, or a way to keep tabs on Russian operations. U.S. public opinion has war fatigue, but also concerns about a Russia that's growing bolder, especially after Ukraine. Washington must balance deterrence with diplomacy. The U.S.'s role in NATO means that any serious breach or attack on a NATO member could invoke Article 5 collective defense. That's a big deal, and one Russia likely watches carefully: economic and sanction levers. Zelensky and EU leaders have called on allies to tighten sanctions after drone breaches and airspace violations. Washington's posture and sanctions policy may be central to the coming phase of this confrontation. One drone, one war game, one misread message, and America might be forced into a decision it hoped to avoid. Russia's moves are bold but high risk. Any misstep, misread radar, misfired missile, civilian death could cascade. Accidental escalation. A stray missile, drone crash, or radar glitch could trigger return fire. With the front lines closer and airspace contested, identifying friend versus foe quickly becomes crucial. Nuclear signal. Zapad 2025 reportedly included rehearsal of tactical nuclear weapons, combined with Russia's updated doctrine, which warns that any attack supported by a nuclear state could trigger nuclear response. This brings nuclear risk back into sharp relief. Information warfare and ambiguity. Russia often denies intentional violation or claims accidental intrusion, even while using the incidents for propaganda. NATO must distinguish fact from disinformation in real time, a hard task. A 50-minute drone flight. A war game rehearsal. One wrong signal, and the stakes become existential. If NATO is to respond decisively, it needs more than statements. Strengthen air defense and monitoring. EU/NATO nations, especially those bordering Russia, need more radar, early warning, integrated drone detection, and better rules of engagement for low-altitude intruders. Clarify thresholds for response. What triggers a response? When is shooting down a drone justified? National laws, e.g. Romania's law, to allow shooting illegally entering drones under certain threat assessments, need full enforcement and clarity. Solidarity among NATO members. A unified political front matters. Diplomacy, messaging, joint exercises in defense of common airspace must be consistent. Engage with Ukraine strategically. Support, intelligence, perhaps cooperation on airspace security. Because many breaches originate from a Russian-Ukraine conflict, dealing with that war's spillover is unavoidable. Manage risk of escalation. Maintain diplomatic back channels, crisis management mechanisms, careful calibration of responses to avoid accidental trigger to war. Defense isn't just about missiles and jets, it's about credibility. The world watches how alliances respond when the provocation begins. What might happen as a result of all this? The tensions, the drills, the implicit threats. Scenario A. Gradual escalation. More drone incursions, more war games near NATO borders, occasional skirmishes. NATO increases readiness. Russia continues to push boundaries without open war. Scenario B. Confrontation. A drone causes collateral damage, NATO fires back. A miscommunication leads to direct military clash. Both sides scramble to avoid deeper war. Scenario C. Diplomacy and de-escalation. Under intense global pressure, Russia stops provocative flights, NATO pushes for arms control or buffer zones. Perhaps a renewed treaty or agreement emerges. Each scenario carries risks. In any case, the stakes are no longer localized. They could redefine European security for decades. Russia's new gambit is simple in its theater, complex in its stakes. Drones crossing borders, military drills that blur the line between war and demonstration. Nuclear posturing beneath the surface, NATO stands at a threshold. Respond too softly, risk being undermined. Respond too hard, risk escalation. America watches, allies watch, adversaries watch. In this game of shadows, the next move could be decisive. Because sometimes the greatest wars are not declared, but drawn in the margins, in airspace, in alliances, in the question, who will blink first? Thank you for watching. If you want to understand where the next great war could begin, hit subscribe right now. Every week we break down the flashpoints the world can't afford to ignore. Don't just watch history, stay ahead of it.